What's up guys, Seth here with tomorrowsfilmmakers.com, the largest online film academy in the world, and today we're going to show you in one single video what takes some people weeks and even months to master, and that is your drone. As a filmmaker, we're passionate about capturing the best content we can in the most creative way we know how. Handheld cameras and gimbals are amazing, but drones take it to a whole nother level, literally. And they're a lot of fun to use. Utilizing drones in your films and projects is a great way to further enhance your story and capture shots that you wouldn't normally be able to achieve. In this video, we're going to walk you through how to master the basics of your drone from start to finish. We're going to talk to you about what drone to buy, accessories you will need, and what settings to use, even what movements we would recommend, all the way to editing. If you're unsure how to use your drone, this is the video for you. Now, this is just the basics of how to master your drone, but if you want to learn everything there is to know about drones inside our full course at tomorrowsfilmmakers.com, we have a 70-episode drone cinema course that takes you through absolutely everything you need to know to fully master your drone and even how to make a living with it. With over 1,000 training videos and over 100 hours of content on every single aspect of filmmaking taught by leading professionals in the film industry, Tomorrow's Filmmakers is your one stop to learn all the skills you need to succeed. Learn the best from the best. With over 15,000 students in over 50 countries, a lifetime membership to our award-winning $800 film course is only $97. If you want to take advantage of this crazy deal, you can check out our website in the link below and head over to tomorrowsfilmmakers.com to learn more. To some, drones may be intimidating. To others, though, it's an amazing piece of equipment that provides so much to their careers and projects. I first purchased and started using a drone for my filmmaking back when I actually got started. Even though I was intimidated a bit to try to learn how to use it, I knew right off the bat that it was something I wanted to begin learning because I was determined to create the best possible video that I could. There's so many pieces of equipment out there that are designed to enhance your films, but in my opinion, I think drones are one of the best. Drones allow you to get shots that really no other piece of camera gear can. It allows you to capture landscapes and scenes from angles that are so unique and can't be captured any other way. And the best part is, this is a piece of equipment that anyone can use, and it's not really that hard to master. Use this information we're about to share with you and put the time into mastering your drone skills and capturing content that you didn't even know was possible. The very first step that you need to take to master your drone is to master the courage to buy one. They're definitely an investment, especially if you want to get a high quality one, but it's one of the best purchases I've ever made for my filmmaking career. If you're on the fence, consider this. Once you own and start using a drone, you'll have so much more variety on what kinds of shots you can get, and even more importantly, on what stories you can tell. They're not cheap, but they're not a mistake either. First, the main question our students are always asking us is, which drone do I buy? Well, there's a few brands out there that make good ones, but there's none quite as good as DJI. DJI is definitely the leader in filmmaking drones, and for a reason. They have so many good options and the video quality that they produce is crazy good. So from here on out, a lot of the things I'll be talking about and referencing will be relating to DJI drones because I wouldn't really recommend any other brand. It of course all depends on your budget, but you can't really go wrong with any of their drones. If I had a suggestion though, I would suggest purchasing one of their newer models so you have the latest technology in DJI's software. You can always buy an older model like this DJI Phantom 4 and it'll do the job just fine. But with each drone they come out with, the new features that they include are a necessity. Unlike a new camera that comes out that might have a better build quality, the difference in drones from 3 to 4 years ago to now is astounding. I personally own a DJI Mavic 2 Pro, which is the perfect balance of portability and quality for what I need in my projects. So once you've decided on and purchased a drone, now it's time to learn how to set up, use, and master everything about your new piece of filmmaking equipment. Drones by themselves are amazing. However, there are a few key accessories that I would recommend you look into purchasing that can enhance your drone even more and make life easier while using it. The first one being probably the most crucial, and those are ND filters. Just like with your handheld camera, ND filters provide the sunglasses effect for your lens and allow you to drop that aperture while keeping everything properly exposed. Drones are no exception to this rule. If it's a sunny day and you try to drop that aperture, everything will be blown out. Sometimes on bright sunny days, you will start to get this weird jitter effect in your images, and that's because the camera has cranked up the shutter speed to get the correct exposure. So make sure to grab some NDs for your drone and allow your camera to be as cinematic as it possibly can. I personally own the Polar Pro variable NDs and I've been happy with those for all of my shoots. Another essential extra is extra batteries. Drone batteries only last about 25 to 30 minutes for most, so it's important to make sure that you have enough batteries for the shoots that you're doing. I do a lot of travel projects, so I don't always have a wall charger on standby that I can use to recharge a dead battery. However though, I do carry around a big portable charger that I can use to recharge them on the go if needed. I would recommend buying one of these as well, but it's always good to just own some extra batteries. One last small accessory that you can add to your collection is a landing pad. Now, this is something that you don't absolutely need, but it has come in handy a few times for me when I'm trying to take off in an area that doesn't have the best terrain for a takeoff and landing. You can buy these for $15 to $20 on Amazon. This is something you never really think about until you get to the top of a mountain with nowhere to take off from. So definitely buy some ND filters, extra batteries, a charging brick, and a landing pad. These accessories will save your life. The next thing we need to understand is the settings. Now, it's enticing, especially when you've just purchased your drone, to just get out there and start flying immediately. But a crucial step you need to take, just like with any camera, is to familiarize yourself with the drone and all its settings. If you just take off immediately, you're going to be pretty disappointed with the image because you don't have your drone set up to capture the most cinematic images. And like we just discussed, drone batteries don't last that long. So if you're not familiar with your drone settings and how to quickly switch them if needed in the air, you're wasting precious shooting time because you only have a limited amount of minutes before you have to land it. So just like with your DSLR, there's a ton of settings that you can adjust and change to your liking. And going through all of them could be a whole other video. So to keep this simple, I'll just go over the main ones, and ones that I use on a regular basis. The layout might look confusing at first, and you might be overwhelmed, but let's just focus on what you absolutely need to know. So drones have basic camera settings like ISO, aperture, frame rate, resolution, and so on. The resolutions and frame rates will vary between drones, so use what your drone has and what works best for your project. I usually like to shoot in either 4K 24 FPS for things like wide landscape shots that I want the most resolution out of, or I'll also utilize high frame rates for slow motion like 60, 120, or even 240 FPS. Adjust your shutter speed accordingly, and then it's best to keep your ISO as low as possible so you minimize any noise in your video. If you have to make your image brighter, either remove an ND filter or bump up your aperture a bit, but let ISO be your last resort. Try to keep that as low as possible at all times. You don't always need a super low aperture for drones because you're mostly looking at wide landscapes. Another big setting for color grading specifically is log footage. DJI has its own log profile called D-Log, and it can be used with any resolution or frame rate. So switch that on and maximize your dynamic range. Those are my settings that I typically use when shooting. Now, DJI has a few really cool special shooting modes that aid with different shots you might want to capture. Some of these being hyperlapses, active track, waypoint, etc. Like we said, we could spend a whole video going in depth about each of these, but just know that your drone has them, and each can be used for a different purpose. To be honest, other than an occasional hyperlapse, I don't really find myself using the others a ton, so don't be too worried about them. I prefer flying manually by myself anyway, and these are all just shooting modes that can help you with things that you can do manually. If you like to customize what each button does when you're flying, DJI also gives you the option to adjust those. You can go into the settings and select what buttons you like to adjust and assign different settings to those buttons. I would suggest assigning things that you'll need to change on the fly, like shutter speed and aperture. One more setting that I like to turn on and off pretty frequently is obstacle avoidance. This is a feature that will alert you when you're near an object and even move your drone out of the way. It is very helpful to not crash your drone, but it can also hinder you if you're going for a specific shot that might have an obstacle near it. Now, use this at your own risk, but I've been flying for quite a while now and trust myself in trying to get shots with obstacle avoidance off. I'll usually only turn it off if I'm trying to fly close to something for a shot and otherwise not able to get that shot with obstacle avoidance turned on. Customize and familiarize yourself with all your settings so once you get up in the air, everything is ready to go and you don't have to waste any time while flying. Another big thing to consider and think about before you take off is your flight plan. Again, the batteries don't last very long, so you'll want to plan out what shots you're going to capture before you're in the air, and prevent wasting time trying to figure out what to capture while your drone is just sitting up there and the battery is draining. You need to get all the buttery golden hour shots that you can and plan out everything that you want to do during that short time. It might sound dumb, but consider the question, why are you flying? I mean, obviously to capture footage, but what kind of footage? What is your video about and how are these shots going to fit into your story? If your film is more slow and cinematic, maybe capture slower shots that have more of a focus on subtle movement and high quality landscapes. If you're making a travel vlog, maybe plan out some fast-paced shots and quick movements. Look at your surroundings and think about what you want to capture and maximize as much actual recording time as you can while in the air. Don't wait till you get your drone up in the air before you determine what you want to capture. The worst thing you can do is just take off and fly around searching for something to film. Plan all of that out before. So now comes the best part of owning a drone, flying it. This is where creativity is unleashed and your story begins to come to life. Now, I don't know about you, but that initial sight of capturing different shots up in the air is one of my favorite things about filmmaking. I mean, capturing stuff on the ground with a camera gets me pumped, but when that camera is airborne, it's so much better. There's so many different shots and movements you can do with your drone, so let's go through some of the best ones and my favorites. Whatever type of shots you capture though, always make sure it has a purpose. Again, know why you're shooting and what you're wanting to capture to elevate your project. Let's start off by utilizing the different frame rates like we talked about earlier. If you're higher off the ground and are focusing on the landscape rather than moving objects, definitely shoot in 24 FPS at the highest resolution you can. You want those landscapes to look as crisp and epic as possible, so make sure your camera settings are adjusted accordingly. Shooting in a higher frame rate for a wide open landscape is pointless. If you're more low to the ground, however, you can keep it at 24 FPS and a high cinematic resolution, but also consider the option of using slow motion. Since you're closer to the ground, things will move in and out of the frame faster. Let's say you're getting a close-up shot of a waterfall. 4K 24 FPS would look great, but switching over to something like 120 FPS and having the option to slow that waterfall down in post might add a little something more. Again, it comes down to what the tone of your story is, but just be sure to utilize all the different frame rates if you're able to, because there's a lot of different shots you can get with a drone that looks so cool in slow motion. There's a ton of different movements that you can do no matter what frame rate you're in though, and here are some of my favorites. The classic pan up shot to reveal a landscape or subject, a parallax that circles around something or someone, a pan down shot like if you're coming over the top of a waterfall or mountain cliff, a top-down spin over something like a forest or city. Those are my favorite shots, but you can also do really anything in between. Be creative, combine these movements, and try something new every time. The drone and its camera axis can twist, pan, and turn many different ways, so the possibilities are endless. Another aspect to make sure to utilize is having a subject or subjects in your frame. Circling around an epic mountaintop is awesome, but having a person on top of that mountaintop adds a little more to the visual. Other examples you could do is someone running through a field and have the drone follow beside them. Or maybe someone is running down a road and you do a follow shot behind them. Using subjects in your drone shots is a great way to add to the visuals and even help tell a story. Get a plan down, take off, and use that 25 to 30 minutes to capture all that you can, because it goes by pretty quickly. Another trick that will save your life is to push the sides of the joysticks instead of holding it like a controller. If you're trying to get really subtle movements, you'll find it almost impossible if you're controlling the joysticks with the top of your thumbs. It's really difficult to get small movements and your drone will start to jump around. If you use the side of your thumbs and gently push the joysticks, you can get much smoother and subtle movements. Go try it out for yourself and you'll be shocked at the difference it makes. Like with all footage, once you've captured it, next is to edit it. For most of the projects that have drone footage involved, I'll either put that drone footage into a separate folder to separate the drone shots from the camera handheld shots. Or if it's something like a travel vlog that has multiple days of footage, I'll just organize it by day along with the rest of the footage. Now, obviously you can use your drone shots for whatever part of the edit that you see fit, but a couple scenarios that I definitely like using them are for things like introducing a location or having it as the background for a title sequence. Next, if you utilize the higher frame rates on your drone, you're able to now slow that footage down and even better, use speed ramping. Speed ramping is a tool that I love to use with drone footage, especially when I'm making a more upbeat travel style video. Drone footage is a lot of fun to speed ramp because it's a lot easier to cover a larger distance and have more movements to use with that speed ramping if you're using a drone rather than a handheld camera. Another aspect of editing with drone footage is using sound effects. Just like with handheld footage, using sound effects for drone shots really enhances those visuals and can transport your audience to that location. If you're flying over a forest, add some wind sounds, birds chirping, and maybe leaves rustling. If you're over an ocean, add the sounds of waves and seagulls. Any type of audio that can add to your story, don't hesitate to add those in. The final piece when editing drone footage, like any other footage, is to color grade it. If you shot in a log profile, which you should, you have plenty of dynamic range to work with. Color grading drone footage tends to be a bit more tricky, however, because there's usually a lot more happening in your shot and therefore more colors, shadows, and highlights to play with. If you do it right though, a finished color grade on a drone shot can look so good and really stand out in the mix of handheld shots. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and are now confident in using your drone. Take this information, purchase that drone you've had on your wish list for months, and start creating. Drone footage is so much fun to capture and is truly able to elevate your project to a whole new level. Literally. If you'd like to learn even more about how to master your drone skills, you can check out our full course at tomorrowsfilmmakers.com. We have over 1,000 training videos and over 100 hours of content on every single filmmaking subject that you can imagine. If you'd like to join over 15,000 other filmmakers just like you, pursue their dreams, and learn all about film, click the link below and sign up for our full academy for 90% off. A lifetime membership to our award-winning $800 film course for only $97. So click the link in the description and head on over to tomorrowsfilmmakers.com and learn all the skills that you need to succeed.